Oh yes, we're doing that podcast thingy. Okay, right, I'm Jan.
I'm Sharon.
And we're menopausal friends living here in France, and we plan to share with you our lives,
Loves.
and laughter, as the saying goes.
There's always lots of that.
We'll be discussing many subjects and also just being us. Enjoy!
Woohoo!
Welcome to this week's podcast. I'm Jan.
I'm Sharon.
And this week, we'll get round to it, but we're talking about menopause this week. But first of all, we've got to do our weeklies. And that is, Sharon, how's your week been?
Up and down, because we were both a bit poorly last week, weren't we?
Oh, we
kind of
was
had a cold
poorly.
and flu-y thing, and we had no energy.
Yeah.
And I thought I was fully recovered, but then I drove to IKEA and back and did 5,000 steps walking around IKEA.
Well, that's unavoidable.
And then I crashed again yesterday. Really.
To be honest, I'm surprised it was only 5,000 because it felt like a lot more.
Felt like more.
I don't think
didn't it?
Julie and Max did 5,000 because they kept sitting down.
Every time we stopped to look at something, they found a bed or a sofa.
Yeah,
Didn't they?
and I had to
I
sit
think
down.
Julie actually dozed off at one stage
It's
on a bed.
just been a normal week otherwise, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did we walk? Yes, we walked on Tuesday.
We did manage to actually do a walk because although it was threatening rain, wasn't it? It wasn't too bad. I think it just started to spit as we got back to the car.
Where do we walk, Jan?
We went to Champion,
We did go to Champion.
which is where that chateau is, but we didn't go anywhere near the chateau.
It is our next nearest village, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we're still not back on form after having our flu, whatever it was we had. We kept going up roads, didn't we?
Well, literally, as soon as it went up,
We noticed a hill,
we turned round.
well, a mountain to us at the time.
We turned round and walked back down again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's 3 times we did that.
We did
Up
different
the road,
hills.
Saw a hill, turn round, come back down again.
But we still did about 5,000 steps. So it's better than nothing.
It's well, really, our average is between 7 and 8, isn't it? So it wasn't too much less, and at least we did get the exercise. So yeah, so it was that. But then what else? I think is that the only walk we've done?
Yeah, we've only managed one. That not well, and IKEA, which was a walk. in
Yes,
itself.
that's right, because we did count that as a walk, even though it was very slow, but we were still on our feet, because apparently you still burn calories, and even if you're just standing up. So I can't just stand all day, but, I think it's supposed to burn some. So there you go.
It's better than nothing, isn't it?
So that was that. As I
And this
say-
morning we've been for a coffee with some
Oh
friends.
yeah, we've just been for coffee in Lassay with Adam and Mark. Sadly, Adam is deaf, so he doesn't get to listen to the podcasts. If you wanted to sit and look at our faces on the screen all the time, he might be able to get subtitles. But I think, from what I can gather, Mark's been listening, so that's good.
Yes.
So we had a couple of coffees with them and had a catch up and a gossip.
Just had lunch, haven't we? today?
Yep, just had lunch, just getting ready for today's podcast. Have you had any decent dreams this week?
Yes, I have actually had quite a few. I don't know why.
And I haven't even heard about these ones this week.
No, these are all new ones. I'll give you a couple.
Okay.
So I was in a big club, or it was maybe a party. I'm not quite sure. I was wearing a very flimsy kind of floaty dress.
Oh, that's not like you.
It isn't like me, is it? Quite sheer, but lots of kind of... I'm doing hand actions, which is no good.
Again, she's doing her usual hand actions that you can't
Kind
see.
of frilly bits all the way down.
Oh, like layers?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
right, okay.
I think it was like a purpley blue. But it also came with other flimsy bits which went round my face. So it wasn't like a veil. It was more like a continuation of the frills, but across my face.
So, yeah.
I don't know why.
Have you been watching some weird fashion show or something?
Not that I'm aware of. Anywho, I was wearing that, but there was a kind of balcony arrangement and there was offices upstairs, because it always goes back to work, doesn't it? And an old boss of mine was up there and he was firing people, including the property services and the finance manager, for stealing £5,000 from him.
Oh.
So it's very dramatic. But when I woke up, I tried to get back into the dream because I was convinced because he'd sacked them, I was going to get a promotion. So I tried to get back into the dream thinking, if I could just get back in there, I reckon Tony might give me a little bit of a promotion.
It's not real, Sharon. It's not real.
Well, it feels real at the time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, the flimsy veil was a strange thing. Yeah. I'll give you another one then. I was in a jungle and I was trying to escape it. I don't know why, but I was trying to escape in this jungle. But I ended up in my childhood house kitchen.
Right, okay.
Strangely, there was a roll of lino going free.
Right.
Which I took with me.
So you left the place with this lino?
With the lino, which was rolled up.
Sketches with a
under my arm.
Under your
yes.
arm. Yeah.
And it was one of those kind of mock wood ones.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know how. I think when I escaped the jungle, I just went in the back door of my mum's old house.
So this jungle wasn't far away then?
Well, it felt as if it was when I was trapped in it. Right, and then I was like, oh, I've escaped in the back door. I'm in the kitchen.
Wasn't your mum's just overgrown garden or anything?
It didn't appear to be at the time,
no.
No, it's full on jungle. But I was like, oh, roll of lino.
I'll have that.
And somebody must have said to me, I think, oh, that's going free. I thought, I'll have that. So I took it with me. Don't know where I was going.
What night was that?
That's about, I think that's a few days ago. That
Oh,
one.
right, so it's not after the IKEA trip.
Oh, no. That was earlier because I have got another 4 after that, so I'm assuming. I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
As usual, I didn't have, well, obviously I have had dreams. I must have had, but...
Well, that's interesting. We read recently, didn't we, that everybody dreams.
Yeah.
But it's just whether you remember them or not.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little hint for next week, shall I?
Go on then.
Well, up and coming in the dream world is a holiday in Barbados and a beauty contest for children.
Right, okay. Tune in for that next week. What about TV? You've watched anything interesting?
I've just finished the first series of True Detective. Now,
Yeah,
I know
I've seen it as the thumbnable, but not...
Yeah,
actually.
there's been some adverts. Took me a while to realise because it was in French. In between my podcasts of Series 4, because Jodie Foster's in Series 4. I think they're standalone series, so they're not related to each other.
Oh, they're not... Oh, so they don't follow on?
No, they don't follow on.
So individual stories, right?
Yeah, so I've just finished Series 1, which was very good. I enjoyed that. It was Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, who always mumbles.
Yeah.
He just can't...
It doesn't matter what you watch, you have to sometimes rewind and play it again, don't you?
Well, that's why I have the subtitles on, don't
Yeah.
I? Anyway, that was good. And Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
Oh, right.
And it's just a sweet little film. Leslie Manville is in it. And I think
I don't know if I know that name.
you would recognise her if you saw
Probably,
her.
I'm not very
She's
good
kind
with
of getting
names.
towards National Treasure now.
I'm not very good with actors and actresses and putting the name to the face. That's the trouble.
And
Right.
it's a lovely little story. She's a cleaning lady. She works all her life. And she saves a lot of money, but she also comes into a little bit of money. And she decides what she really wants is an haute couture dress from Paris.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's about adventures to go to Paris. What happens when she gets there? So
I'm definitely going to have to watch that.
yeah,
then.
but it's very lovely.
Yeah.
It's just nice. Yeah, it's really sweet.
We've been getting into we've got this app that we can now watch what seems like anything on it. And I've been doing my usual watching hospital type things, but I clicked on one which was Doctor, which is a Australian series. It's just a normal, what I would call normal Australian thing. It's just quite nice. Anyway, so I've been watching that, a bit of binge watching, and also I found Call the Midwife. So I don't know if they get that in anywhere else other than the UK, but it's just another really lovely... It's set in the 40s, I think, isn't it? 40s or 50s.
I think when it started...
No, it was...
But it does move with
pre-war,
time, doesn't it?
It does,
Yeah.
It's very good at that. and it's just about midwives that are in Nanata's house, which is in a nun. I don't know if it's a church or a nun's.
I don't actually watch it.
Is it a nun, not a nunnery?
It is a nunnery,
Is it a
isn't
nunnery?
it? Convent.
Convent, that's it. So the nurses are all set there, and the nurses or midwives are there, and they work together to do midwifery.
Yes.
And there's always 3 or 4 babies born every week. But it's going through a time. The last couple I watched around the times when thalidomide.
She's probably early 60s, I think.
Yeah,
late
so
50s, early
already
60s.
moved on. Yeah. And it's just. Although it's quite often very sad, because obviously you do get stillbirths and you do get people dying. And the one I watched just recently, the woman, they've sent one of their nurses to work in a private hospital, and someone on the line, because Nanata's house is suffering financially, they want to come together with this private hospital to work together. But as it's turned out now, they don't like the way this doctor operates in there. So, because he's been actually performing abortions, and which at that time was very bad, basically.
It may have actually still been illegal.
I think it might have been, but he
I'm
was
not
doing it.
sure where the law changed.
He was saying
in the
he was
UK.
giving the women D&Cs,
Yes.
when in fact he was doing abortions.
Yes.
Anyway, so it's all sort of around that sort of thing, and in the end
Well, then again,
they
it's
decide not to work with the private hospital, and they're now looking for someone else they can work with.
For our American listeners,
Mm.
I mean, there are some states where recently they've, is it Roe versus Wade? They've undone the right to abortion.
I knew there'd been something going on about it, but I didn't know exactly what. It's a very controversial subject, really, isn't it? I don't know. It's just, that's another whole conversation, really.
It is.
But, yes, so I've been watching that, which has been lovely, and also we've got back into very much an American programme, Law and Order.
Sorry, just going back if you are interested, 1967 it's legalised
That's
in
when
the
it was
UK.
legalised. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, so, Law and Order, we watched, I think, about 6 series of that ages ago, and then that was on Netflix or something, and it stopped. And then we've been waiting to find the rest of them, because there's so many. I mean, even in the way it is at the moment, with the actors and that are in it at the moment, which we like, they've done like 24 episodes or seasons.
Wow.
So we've got a lot of catching up to do. So, and we also realised that we hadn't watched about the first 3 or something. So
you joined in the middle when you did join.
yeah, I didn't realise, Duncan did, but yeah. So we've got a lot of catching up to do there, but we love it because Duncan doesn't usually like courtroom dramas or anything like that. But for some reason, because this is a bit of a mixture of the investigation and courtroom, and they're just really good at it. He enjoys it.
So what do you do? Watch a couple of episodes
Yeah,
a night? And
of course, the other thing was we've been the pottery throwdown. We've been watching that as well. So some nights it'll be 2 episodes of Throwdown and 2 episodes of Law and Order. So we've just been swapping them about a bit. So
I love Throwdown.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, I have
If anybody
been watching,
watches,
sorry.
I think things like that and the sewing bee go to America, don't they? But it's the man in the pottery thing is very passionate about the pottery, and at least once a week he cries because he just gets so emotional, and he really loves what people have made. And if he really likes it, he's crying. Bless him. I've never known such an emotional man.
Yeah.
So that's been my viewing.
I did do the rugby as well.
Of course, yes. Yeah, Six Nations has been on.
Yeah, so I think we've got a week off this week, Six Nations wise, but yeah.
It's usually 4 weeks worth or something, isn't it? That the
well, they all have to play each other.
Yeah. And how many teams are there?
6.
So that's what it is. Of course, it is 6. So
yeah. So for people outside Europe, it's well, it used to be England, Wales, and Scotland and Ireland. So it was 4 nations, and then France joined, and then Italy joined. So yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Let's get on with the subject today. As I said, is menopause, I've been doing some both done some of our own notes, obviously, because we need to share with you our suffering. And I've just looked up quickly, just in case there's any men or very young people listening. But apparently, according to Google, well, I don't know if it is actually Google, but something on Google, the average age apparently is 51. Now, I do know that you can actually, I've heard of people in their 20s going through menopause, which is very sad.
Yes, I mean, some people do have early menopause. Often it's related to other conditions, like they may have had cancer, they may have had problems after they gave birth, and that puts them into early menopause.
Yeah.
So it can be for other reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's a lot less common, but yeah, it's not specifically just for 51-year-olds, basically.
But all women will go through it at some stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at some stage all our periods stop and we've used up all our eggs.
Exactly. Which sounds wonderful, because you think, great, no more menstruation, no more periods, no more Tampax, no more pads. But it comes with lots of other side effects. But that is a big bonus, I will say. The no periods is just, especially if you're the sort of person that's had very heavy periods.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are very lucky and they only have very light ones. But the downside is, as well, when you actually start your menopause is often related to when you started your periods. I had started my periods when I was 10 or 11, which meant my menopause didn't start till late. It starts late.
Right.
And that's just not fair, is it?
No, that's not fair.
Because you think if you started your periods early, you would start your menopause early. But instead of that, you have this big gap or thing in your life of having periods, and it's just not fair, as I say. And I was around 57. And when I went to the hospital here, I had to go to a gynaecologist for something here, I can't remember what it was. Might have been actually to have my coil removed, I can't remember, but I think it had been in longer than it should have been. I was a bit nervous, obviously, of having it removed. The fact I thought it had embedded itself, but it hadn't come out very easy. But when I told him how old I was, he was very surprised. He said the average age, he thought, in France was 56 for French women. So I was just outside of that. So,
but I suppose with all things with averages, if 51's the average, there are some of those young women who have it for other reasons. That brings that age down, doesn't it? Yeah.
How old was you when you started yours? How old did you start your periods?
Oh, I was young. I was still at primary school. So.
All right. So you must have been just as young as me. So when did
I may
you
have
actually
been
start yours?
Just
then?
11, or just before I was 11.
All right. So it's about the same.
Yeah.
I think you started your menopause earlier than
I
me,
did start mine earlier. It's difficult because it doesn't just like one day you realise you're in menopause.
No,
because there's lots of things that happen beforehand. It's not just your periods, because the trigger, if you like, is you drop in certain hormones, which is, well, it's estrogen and progesterone. I don't know if there's others as well, but your hormone levels drop. So for lots of people, that's the first sign, and it can be things like anxiety and depression start to kick in because your hormone levels have dropped. I think I was early 50s, I would say.
Blimey. So you got off light then, you say.
Yeah, and I think my periods stopped, started. So I would have like nothing for 3 months and then back to normal, and then nothing for 6 months and then back to normal. So it wasn't a cut-off point, if you like.
Well, that side of it for me was quite clean cut.
Yeah.
I was having what I thought were symptoms, but any time I went to the doctor in the UK or here, none of them actually said, "Oh, you're in menopause." None of them said it, even when I actually was, which was frustrating, because I thought, well, am I imagining these symptoms? But yeah, so the only thing that really made it official was that I did actually stop.
Yes.
I just felt I could just suddenly stop them. But then 18 months in, I then had a very heavy period, which was very worrying because obviously I'm thinking, but I can't because I'm in menopause. But it was a bit scary thinking there must be something else wrong now.
Yes.
But then it was almost like my body decided, hang on a bit, you got a bit left in here, let's clear that out and then carry on.
Yeah, I think that's quite usual actually, that you have one big last one maybe after.
Well, I
did that.
Yeah, I didn't know that at the time. I wouldn't have been so panicky.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, we could talk a lot about this as well, is that it's not taken seriously.
No.
There are ways you can test if you're in menopause or not, and that's around your hormone levels. Very rarely is that offered.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I think that's what it was with me,
Yeah, so it's not taken seriously, it's not discussed readily, and if it is, quite often it's discussed in a kind of, well, it's made a joke of, especially by men perhaps.
That's the thing, now you saying that about there are signs before that you don't know, it's made me think, because I used to, for quite a few years, had quite a lot of anxiety and stuff, so I mean that could have been lead up to it, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Not that it matters
but
now,
we don't know because no one tests.
What, is there a kit you can buy for any of this?
I don't know if there is a kit.
For lots of
I
things
don't
now.
know if there is a kit. I have a friend who, and this was privately because she's lucky enough to have good private medical insurance. And what they did, and they offered to her, was we'll test your hormone levels, say in your late 40s, so we know what's normal for you.
Right, yeah.
And so when they tested when she thought she may be in menopause, they knew exactly because they could see what was normal for her and what she was at now.
Right.
And in fact, she had, and we can talk about HRT as well. She had HRT, which brought her up to her original levels.
Oh, okay.
So that's very much an enhanced service. But
see, that's the other thing. There's the period of perimenopause, isn't there? So I'm assuming that must be the bit, like you were saying, when you got a doctor who's good enough and says, "Oh, I think you're Mary
Penthemals."
Perimenopause must be that bit when you get these signs of the anxiety and
could be that. Yeah.
But obviously, we're not doctors. We can only go on our own personal experience as per usual.
Yeah.
But So what I thought we could do, we found a list of so-called symptoms, and I thought I'd go through each one and then find out whether we've actually suffered them and how they've affected us or whatever. I mean, one of the first ones that I found is brain fog.
Oh, yes.
I can't decide if that happens a lot or whether I've just got used to it, or that's the thing, isn't it? Because it becomes, all these things become a way of life.
The new normal,
Yeah, exactly, the new normal.
Yeah.
But I do often get forgetful.
Yes.
And I do often lose my ability to think as I am now.
Yes.
So I think that's a definite.
That's a very common one, definitely. And I found it, when it first started to happen to me, I found it really scary.
Oh, did you?
I think in the back of my mind, my mum had dementia.
Ah, right.
So you start thinking, oh, is this the first sign of something else?
Yeah, I must admit, there's not been any of that in my
family. So that worried me. And again, people don't talk about it. People often look at you as if you're stupid when you can't remember things. It's embarrassing. But yes, I don't think there's a menopausal woman I know that doesn't suffer with that.
No.
Memory loss. And it is short-term memory, hence the title of the podcast.
Yeah.
Because it's that immediate, I've opened a cupboard door, I have no idea what I'm looking for. I've walked into a room, I've got no idea. And you walk back out, get halfway down the stairs, and it pops back in your memory again.
And I know other people do this as well, but it's things like finding things in the wrong cupboard or in the wrong drawer or something, you know, and that's frustrating because you don't most of the time. I can remember when I was premenstrual, occasionally I'd forget things, or your brain just doesn't function, and I'd find things in silly places and can't remember where I put them. So yeah, that's it is a common thing. The next one on the symptoms list I've got is headaches and migraines.
Yes, not something I've suffered from in my menopause.
No, I'm not a headache person, if you like. I don't tend to have...
I used to be when I was younger, funnily enough.
Oh, really?
And I used to have terrible headaches, and I used to take migraine tablets. I tell you when it stopped, which makes me think maybe it was hormone related, was after I had my first child. And I don't think I've had a migraine since. It's really weird.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never been certain to have a migraine, or the only time mainly is if I've had the flu or cold, or if I'm dehydrated because we've been out on the drink the night before or something. We've been out having drinks, but I hope I'm not cursing myself, but I generally do not get headaches. Next one on the list is hot flushes, which is another common one.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't get the flushes early on as much, but I've noticed them more now. But I'm not one for getting them a lot. I do tend to have, seems to be of a similar time of the evening. We're watching TV, and I keep a fan behind the sofa on the table now, so I can grab it.
Yeah.
But obviously, they say that alcohol, spicy food, all that sort of thing can promote it. Is that the word I want?
Yeah.
So they do. You're supposed to avoid all that, but that's just silly. Why would you do that?
There's only so much we can avoid.
Exactly. So I do know that if as soon as I've had a few sips of my wine, I can feel it coming on. But it's you know why it's happening. So I just get the fan out and get on with it. But I'm very lucky that I do only have one, maybe two a day.
Yes, I used to have a lot.
That's like that.
Yeah,
I don't notice.
I used to have a lot more. I think it started, and again, I wasn't aware of what was going on with night sweats. And well, you know what I'm like with dreams. I can remember dreaming that I was lying on top of like a literal furnace.
Oh.
And waking up thinking there was actually something on fire underneath me. And I think that was probably the first time I'd had a night sweat. Definitely when I was in the midst of it, one of my children used to say, if I lose you in the supermarket, Mum, I only have to look for the big red face. Because I would just that would be it, yes. Yeah.
Yes, no,
but touch wood, I don't get many more anymore.
Rewind, go back to what I just said. I've lied. I forget. Yes, occasionally do get them at night. But I can never truly tell whether I've just got too many covers on me or whether it is actually a night sweat. Again, it's not every night, and it's just a lot of women relate to sticking your leg out of the duvet, don't they, or out of the bed, or putting your arm out of the bed, cool down, and then all of a sudden you're too cold, so you've got to put your arm or your foot back in again. So yeah, that's all quite common.
And again, it can be very embarrassing. I mean, I've not had it to that extent, but I remember, and I was younger, and I don't think I appreciated necessarily what was going on, but I was in a work situation. I was interviewing someone who was going to take on a project for us. And she said, you have to excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. And she was a bit hot and sweaty. But she had sweat literally dripping off her. I felt so sorry for her.
Aspire,
yeah. And it wasn't till later, I thought the poor woman was just having hot flushes. And she's trying to do this presentation as to why she should manage this project for us in that situation. She must have felt so uncomfortable.
Well, like you're saying, she was embarrassed, but I mean, really, you shouldn't be embarrassed. You should just be able to make a joke of it, and which is what we do. Like they say, I'm having a personal summer.
I love that expression.
Or I'm having a moment.
Yeah.
I mean, other people have probably got other sayings. Let us know what you say. But you do have to make a joke of it because it's all part of this. Supposedly, you should embrace it because it's all part of just getting older, and some women would swear at that and say, I'm not going to embrace it because it's causing them so much discomfort.
Yeah, and I think we're lucky in some ways that most of our good friends, the people we associate with, not all of them, but a lot of them are other menopausal women.
Yeah.
So there's a better understanding. I think, again, my friend who's still in the work environment, and if she forgets a word in the middle of a team meeting that she's conducting, people start to doubt her and her ability to be a senior manager. Well, they do, you know.
Yeah.
She did forget the word for aeroplane.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's and it lands, it flies. She said that there's young guys looking at her, or obviously, you know, at some stage they're going to want to take her job anyway.
Yeah.
So, do you mean an aeroplane? You know, really dismissive. And I think if you're still in the workplace and you're dealing with menopause, I think that's probably the most difficult. Or if you haven't got an understanding partner, I think it can be very difficult for some women. Yeah.
It's hard to imagine because, I mean, obviously, as we've said in the last podcast, you don't worry about things like that because it's just you dealing with it. And with me, I've got, thankfully, an understanding husband. So
yes, definitely.
It's hard to imagine that other people have got partners that wouldn't be. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, one of the other symptoms, I know you've got it on your list, about lack of or decline in...
Do you want to wait till we get to it?
I'll wait till we get to it because I've forgotten the word.
Right, the next on the list is sore breasts.
Yes.
Now, that is something I definitely had, obviously, pre-menstruation. What do they call it?
Yes,
It
yeah.
was that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pre-
I used to get pre, so you get, your boobs would get...
What was it called? Before you had your period?
Premenstrual? Yeah,
That's it, premenstrual.
Yeah. I'm holding my boobs now for some reason.
What? Are you just checking them? Just checking if they're
I was
sore?
just thinking...
Just grabbing the breasts there. I had them, yes, when I had my periods. I used to have sore breasts then. And obviously I remember getting that when you're first pregnant, isn't it? You get it then. But I very rarely get it now. Occasionally I might get a little twinge here and there, which now, for me, always worries me because I think it's going to be something else. But generally, no, I don't get sore breasts.
No. Again, I know some women who appear...
Sore breast.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
You always have to get in there. Just got the one. No, I do know some women who continue to almost do the cycle. So they know it's the same as if they're going to have a period, but they just get the run up and then down the other side and no period. So they get all the symptoms they used to get before they had their period. So they get all the premenstrual...
Do you know what? Yeah. This is where I see memory being bad. I've just started to realise that there are certain things that happen to me. It might be mood.
Yes.
And it might be a little twinge in the chest area. And I very often look at the date.
Yes.
And if it's around the 21st, I always wonder, is it that similar sort of thing? That at a certain time of the month, those sort of things still happen like they did when I was younger. Yeah. See, I'm terrible, aren't I? I say I don't get these things and it all starts to come back to me. But then that's because it's not all the time.
No.
I just move on and get on with it. But also, talking about this, and I could just put this on the end, but I'm going to say it now because I'll forget again. But the fact, from the breast cancer, I'm now on a tablet which is hormone related.
Right.
So I do often, because I'm not very good at checking on these things and necessarily understanding them, I'm wondering if those pills I'm on...
Do you know what they're called?
Well, they're called anastrozole, but I wonder if they have calmed my... bit, almost acting like HRT.
Yes.
Because it could be that way. Maybe I should ask my oncologist.
Do you know how to spell it?
She might, because she's French, she might just shrug at me, but... You know.
Astrazole. Oh, I had it then.
And it's probably all in the paperwork I've got. This is the problem, isn't it? Because I'm on these tablets, and I've only ever been on them in France. All the documentation is French, so
Yes.
I just get on with it and don't bother reading about it.
Yes, it does. Anastrozole works by lowering the levels of estrogen hormones
There you
in
go.
your body.
So it's...
And it said it's mainly
on that
prescribed...
side of things, it's done me a favour.
Yeah, it's mainly prescribed for women who have been through the menopause and have a type of cancer that's hormone dependent.
That's right. I remember now. Yes, they gave it to me because I'd had the menopause. Yeah, because there's another one you can have perimenopause. Yeah. Okay, so the next one is the vaginal dryness.
Yes.
Some would say it's an embarrassing one, but it's another thing that comes with menopause and being older, you get less embarrassed to say these things, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
But I've noticed that slightly.
Yes.
It's not, really been that much of a problem for me, but I have noticed it.
Mm.
Yeah,
And again, I
definitely.
think that varies, like all of these things, from person to person. Yeah.
So yes,
And for some,
that could be very uncomfortable, could be very painful, but
yes. And again, if you haven't got a very understanding partner, that can be a problem.
Yeah.
For some women.
So did you say whether you did or didn't have that?
A bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sexually active.
I'm not much.
That was the thing I couldn't think of just now. We'll go back to that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't notice it as much as maybe I would if I had a sexual partner. Yeah.
Yeah, probably not. The next one is loss of bladder control.
Yes. I don't think I have that a lot. I think I wee more than I used to.
Well, you've never been a person that's always run into the toilet, I don't think, have you?
I'm not called bucket bladder for
We
nothing.
can... Bucket bladder.
That's what my friend
we
calls
could be out in a restaurant or somewhere and I'd be going to the toilet 3 or 4 times and you've sat there the whole night.
Yeah,
That's
don't go at all.
I've never understood that. Say if we'd be at Natalie and Leon's, I'd be running to the toilet all the time.
I've never used...
Both you and Natalie wouldn't be running.
I've never used their toilet.
You're joking.
No.
That doesn't mean to say she just sits it and does it in the chair.
No, but I don't get the feeling of needing to go.
Yeah.
I've always,
Especially alcohol.
Oh,
It makes
except
you
at,
wanna go more,
middle of the night.
Because they say you shouldn't hang on, but then there's other people who say you should hang on because it strengthens your
Pelvic floor.
pelvic floor. Because they say if you go regularly, then it's not... It's like anything, isn't it? It needs
It's
to
a
be
muscle.
exercised.
It's a muscle. Yeah.
So I do try not to go too often for that reason. But it's also, if I do hang on for too long, a little bit may leak.
Yes.
But not loads.
I mean, we have had 7 children between us as well.
We have. Yeah.
Which, again, it's your pelvic floor and it does get weakened. So yes, that can be. I do know people who have to wear some kind of pad all the time now because they're very conscious of a bit of leakage.
It's a normal thing, but that's why you got tenor ladies, haven't you, and things like that to wear.
Absolutely.
There's one thing I do dread the thoughts of having to go back to wearing a pad, obviously for a different reason.
Yes,
but
yes.
If you have to, you have to. But it's just not a very nice thing. And obviously there's lots of people that got other conditions that have to, but... So that's...
I think that's a fairly common one.
Yeah, the next one, which is related to the one before, really, is the reduced sex drive.
That's what I was trying to think of earlier on.
You couldn't think of the sex drive.
No.
It's that, and I would say that's a most definitely.
Yes.
I would say ask Duncan.
Yes. And again, if, you're in an understanding relationship...
Oh, yeah.
Other men or women may not be as tolerant of that.
And some may take it personally.
Yes, or may look elsewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think that's unusual either.
But
no.
What I don't like about it is it's not something I would say is a good excuse, and I enjoy the fact. I'm frustrated because having a younger husband, it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
So he's a suffering husband.
Bless him.
Sometimes.
Bless him. Yeah.
But you wouldn't know it because he doesn't make me feel bad. It's just,
No. I'm just checking what some of these things are related to. Drive. And I'm just going to check if that's a specific hormone again.
Right.
I was looking up the this is funny because it's the memory loss one.
Yeah.
Memory loss is directly related to estrogen levels.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
But
Right.
vaginal dryness is just there's no fluid.
Yes.
No, but there's obviously something that causes that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see. I think estrogen's one of the main.
But even what did you say my tablets do?
Lower your estrogen.
Yeah. So that's obviously
So
what,
yep.
They're terrible. I'm taking these tablets and not reading up about it. Well, I did to do at the start, but when it comes down to it, I've got to take them. So there's no point me forever keep checking on them.
It's also related to just age rather than menopause.
Oh, okay.
Which is, it says here, blood fills your genitals more slowly, so it takes longer to get aroused. Oh, again, estrogen. Decrease in estrogen levels causes a decrease in vaginal blood flow, which contributes to vaginal dryness and decreased vaginal lubrication.
Oh, now we know.
Yeah.
We're only how many years in and we're just finding this stuff out?
Well, yes. I mean, again, going back to ignorance and lack of information, because, I think every woman should get a leaflet through the post when they hit 50.
Yeah.
Just explaining what might be going on with them and
Exactly.
encouraging them to go to their doctors if they're worried about it at all.
So the next one is mood swings, of course, but that's the same with when you're obviously premenstrual, isn't it? So it's a similar thing, and that's why I was saying sometimes I can get a little bit like that, and I have to look at the date because I think that's around the time I used to get my period.
Yeah,
but don't you find and I never really, it took years for me to realise, it's only when you get older you start to understand some of these things. But sometimes the mood is so strong, you can't control it, and you're just frustrated then because you can't control it. And I just get really annoyed with myself.
Yes.
So I just don't understand how Duncan puts up with that. But obviously he does because he understands that. But it's it's a very frustrating thing. So, but I mean, did you notice that?
No, I don't.
Being on your own, because I would notice it more because I know my effect on Duncan.
Yeah, I don't think I ever had that big uppy downy thing with my periods anyway.
All right.
I had other things, but I didn't have that mood swing either up or down and reduce. I've got friends who did, and I had one particular friend who used to rage a few days before a period. No control over it at all, just absolute rage. Oh. And then used to feel so upset about things she'd said or done until next month. And, very difficult to control.
I can get quite frustrated about things, and I do sometimes have to stop and remember that that's probably why. It's not because I'm really annoyed at Duncan or I'm really annoyed.
Yes.
It's just that's the way, body's taking me, sort of thing. Dry eyes is another one.
Yeah, see, I didn't really have that on my radar, but I have had really dry eyes lately.
I get itchy.
Yeah,
itchy eyes. I quite often have to, especially around the bottom, I have to itch because, again, I was thinking maybe I was diabetic because apparently that's the symptoms with diabetes. That's me being paranoid. But no, as it turns out, it's a common thing.
I suppose it's another dryness because another thing people get very itchy skin.
Yes, I think
very dry skin.
Yeah, that's another symptom.
Everything just dries up, Jan.
Yeah, we're getting old and
externally,
craggy, which is why you get. I suppose because that's partly why you get more wrinkles, don't you? Because you're supposed to moisturise more.
You lose
in all areas
elasticity of your skin, don't you? It's collagen, isn't it?
Sometimes I can't help but think when you think way back, say 100 years ago, people didn't live as long, did they? And that that body naturally just got drier and wrinklier and older because that's the way it is. But now we extending our life, and so we've got to extend our body by moisturising and stuff like that, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, collagen's a big thing at the moment, isn't it?
Mm.
People say, oh, you should have collagen in this, collagen in that.
Yeah.
We're not the best people to discuss beauty regimes.
We're not.
Because we do the minimums.
We wash.
Yes, we moisturise.
And we moisturise. And that's about it. I don't even really wear makeup now. I mean, one of my viewers did say that she likes to see women wearing a little bit of makeup. And I do occasionally, just to make myself feel better, more than anything, or if I'm going somewhere special. But otherwise, I'm really not that fussed.
I mean, this is going a bit off topic, so you can cut this out if you like. But there's been quite a lot of discussion recently, and I think it's mainly I've been listening to older actors or comedians or whatever. And people are saying, oh, if you're going to America, you're going to have to do this and you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to do Botox. And I said, oh, no, I don't want to. But the problem is you're then next to someone who's the same age as you and you look a lot older because they're not a natural anymore.
No.
And really, I disagree with that. But I can see, I've got friends who are quite glamorous and wear makeup all the time. And if I stand next to them, I do look older. And that was never the case when we were both younger, we're the same age, because they do things that I don't.
Are they feeling the need to wear makeup because they're not confident about themselves?
I think for some people it is.
And it's like a mask.
Yes.
Because then they can feel confident. Because I don't think I'm not confident. I think I'm okay. I'm not worried about going into a room or anything like that. And it used to, once upon a time, as I say, I wouldn't have left the house without makeup on. And my daughter, the second eldest, she got so used to me doing that. If I went to walk out of the house without lipstick on, she'd, Mum, what are you doing? And I didn't even realise that they'd noticed.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, she was like it herself, but now she's the same as me.
Again, I think it's part of your situation. I think if you're in a job where you have to project a certain image, because of your seniority or the kind of industry you're working in, maybe you continue to do it. If you were dating again,
I suppose well, saying that,
or even the kind of place, we don't go those kind of places.
No, I was worried about that sort of thing coming to France because French ladies can be very glamorous the way they dress and everything. But then that's probably thinking of Parisians.
Yes,
maybe.
I was going to say we're
because
not in
we're
Paris,
in the
are we?
countryside,
Yeah, it's completely
really,
different.
Although that some of them do, they like a mini skirt and a bit of makeup,
leather
but they're
jacket.
not. Yeah, you don't. It's not the same here.
No. I think that is the kind of places you go as well. I think if we were out every Saturday night at some place or other, maybe we would.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
I mean, I like the fact that I'm not bothered about it now because you can get ready a whole lot quicker going out there than we used to. The next one is the one I'd never heard of until I looked at the list, and that was burning mouth.
Not something I've suffered with.
No, I've never, and I wasn't quite sure, but I had to look it up. But it was just, there is a condition, and you can probably find it online. But it's like it can happen. Your gums can burn, and your tongue or anything, and it can feel like your mouth's on fire. Now the nearest I would come to that was if I'd eaten mustard or spicy food, because I've never had that. As I say, never heard of it.
I've got burning mouth syndrome, but
That's
I don't know.
it, yeah.
Feels like scalding. That sounds awful. Causes.
I've never heard of anybody that's actually had it. Anybody listening, if you've ever suffered it, let us know. What is it like? How debilitating is it?
Yeah. Again, they're saying it can be caused by hormonal changes.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
I did look it up, saying burning mouth related to menopause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, dry mouth can lead to burning mouth. I suppose that's related.
So again, it's the
nightmare,
lack of moisture in the body again.
Yes, could be.
It's a weird one, that really. Frequent UTIs.
Oh, right. Yes.
I don't suffer with that, not knowingly. I mean, you get occasions where you run into... I do, obviously, we already said, I do tend to run to the toilet more than you do, but occasionally I might run a lot more often. So whether that is a slight UTI and I don't know I've got it, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
and again, it might be related to that dryness.
You think? Unless
Yeah.
I've always got it and don't know I've got it.
No, I think you'd know. Yeah.
It's not really a problem for me. Changes in body odour.
That's interesting.
I do think my body odour, not as in a bad smell, but I do, because everybody gives off a smell, doesn't they? Doesn't they?
Doesn't they?
And I always remember there's someone I knew, and I used to think she always had a certain smell about her, and it suddenly dawned on me that I wonder if that was to do with menopause, because some women just do. There's something. For me, if it comes to arm smells, for me that's changed anyway, because I had my glands removed on one side. If anything, I've got one armpit that smells different to the other now, which is...
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. And one armpit needs more deodorant than the other.
Do you prefer one to the other?
I can't say I've got a preference,
No.
But it's just, I just noticed there's one, if I want to check myself, it'll be one armpit that'll check more than the other. It is weird.
Again, that's because as your estrogen drops, it leaves you with a higher level of testosterone, which is what produces the smell, which is why men tend to smell more than women, because they have more testosterone on average.
So we take on a bit of a manly thing, almost, yeah. Oh. Next one, itchy skin, which is, we've already touched on that.
Yes.
I've had that, I think that was one of the top things that I noticed I got a lot, which is why I've always got a back scratcher near me somewhere, because I'm always getting an itchy back. But I've noticed my head will itch more, my arms.
Yeah, me too.
Again, that's got to come down to the dryness, isn't it?
I think it is,
because your skin's drying out and it will itch more. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it's all related to moisture at the moment.
Yes.
The next one would be, I mean, do you find you do itch more?
I do itch more. I've got much drier skin than I've ever had before.
Yeah, I should moisturise the rest of my body, but I don't think to do that. I do my face, but...
I do my face every day, sometimes twice a day. I've always had slightly dry cheeks on my face. Face cheeks.
Yeah.
I'm put off by the cold. Sometimes if it's cold, I think I'm not standing around moisturising my body when I'm freezing.
No, I get that.
But as you know, and as listeners may know by now, I do love a bath. And I will try to, when I'm nice and warm, when I come out of a bath, have a jolly good moisturise. Yeah.
But I do find because...
But I find myself itchy at night.
If it's cold, then I can't be bothered to stand. I just want to get dressed.
Exactly.
So it's a shame, really. I mean, I have asked Duncan sometimes to put me moisturiser on my back or something like that, but not very often. Like I said in that.
See, that's the thing I always miss, not living with someone.
Yeah, as I say, Duncan's got very tired hands because of his job, so I do tend to not. I mean, jokingly last night I said to him, "Would you like me to massage your hands before you go to work tomorrow?" And he just laughed, and I said, "You can moisturize mine." And he does a sort of half-hearted thing. I said, "Oh, don't bother."
Don't slap it.
Now, this is one I didn't know about, but you've got hot flushes, but apparently you can get cold flushes.
Yeah. It's not something I've recognised as a menopausal symptom. But again, as we've talked about, when you have hot flushes in bed, you tend to go cold afterwards. So whether it's related to that, I don't know. I've never, mind you, old ladies wear a lot of jumpers, don't they?
Yeah, but I would imagine that when they're that old, they're probably just everything there's no muscle. You just don't keep warm as you get older, do you? So I don't know if it's really that.
My nan and her 10 jumpers.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like we watch the old people in the village, don't we, walking around in the summer with like a vest and a shirt and a jumper and a coat on in the summer. So it just shows you your blood just thins out, doesn't it?
I mean, that could be related to thinning blood, as you say, more than necessarily hormone changes. I don't know. No, it's not one I've come across.
I've not heard of anybody with that one, actually. Tingling extremities. I get occasionally I'll get that in my fingers, sometimes my toes, and I've just put it down to maybe a trapped nerve or something. So maybe that I had it and didn't know that.
Yes, it's not something I've had or I know people have had, but
Might actually feel that, but I wonder if that must be obviously down to blood flow again now, isn't it? That's not to do with moisture, is it? Surely that
I would
must
have
be.
thought that was moisture related.
So it must be down to the.
Should we see what it's? See what the old.
Something to do with circulation.
It could be tingling in menopause. Here we go again. Estrogen levels impact our central nervous system. When those levels start to fluctuate, some of the nerves are impacted. These sensations can take the form of tingling, burning, crawling skin, cold, numbness, classic pins and needles, and increased sensitivity.
Yeah, they sometimes say you could have, it could feel like you've got ants or something crawling on you.
Yes.
The next one is irregular heartbeat.
Oh, I haven't heard of that before. Specifically in menopause.
Yeah, which made me then think when I was having that really bad, struggling to breathe, wasn't it? Every time I went up the stairs, and although I know it was weight related as it turned out, but it did make me wonder if it was connected with that, because my heart wasn't doing what it should do.
Interesting.
Yeah, but
okay. Yeah, palpitations are relatively common.
But you'd think the palpitations would be linked with the hot flushes, wouldn't you? Because it does seem to quite common. You can feel your heartbeat and then you get a hot flush, but maybe they're not necessarily related.
I can't see anything that says why. Again, it just says possibly changing hormone levels.
Oh, hormones,
yeah.
Well, there you go. It's another one we didn't know
bloody
about.
hell.
See, why don't, like we were saying earlier, why do doctors not, if they decide, I mean, obviously I've never had anybody actually tell me.
No.
But if they're good enough doctors and they can say to you, right, you're menopausal now, missus, then they should say, right, expect this, and this. I mean, you might go away depressed, but at least you'd know what to expect.
Yeah, I think we all find out by accident, don't we? We find out by talking to other women.
Yeah, I was going to say, talking to others. Oh my God, I'm not going mad.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be like that. We are talking about 50% of the population. When you think we're lucky here, we get regular reminders for bowel cancer tests and again, and they're age related.
Yeah.
And mammograms. Why can't there just be, when you reach a certain age, we're just sending this to you because somehow, somewhere in the next few years, you are going to be perimenopausal or menopausal. Therefore, these are some of the things you should look out for. If you get this, come and see us. You know, why don't we get that?
Exactly. They just don't take it seriously enough until you're one of these unlucky ladies that has something serious from one of those symptoms or something, or it's caused something else. But yeah. And of course then the next classic on the list is weight gain.
Oh yes.
Because neither of us know anything about that, do we? We are felt like we don't know anything about weight gain.
Again, I'm interested to find out why. I mean, it's not only weight gain, is it? It's the change in your shape.
Yes.
Because there's something about loss of waist. People often talk about losing that shape. I don't know
if
why.
If you look face on in the mirror, I've lost. There's only a very slight shape there for my waist.
Again, it says hormonal changes of menopause tend to make it more likely that women will gain weight around the abdomen.
Yeah, and then as soon as you have like wine or any alcohol, that piles on around the waist, which isn't fair.
No.
Why can't you? It's like anything, isn't it? Why can't you have things you enjoy without putting on weight or something? And also and I know my mum had the same. It's getting that belly, and I sometimes see myself side on in photographs or in videos, and I was like, oh, look at that belly, But I've always had that. It's one thing Duncan always mentioned when we first met. So that was well before my menopause. So I've always had a bit of a belly. He always used to make a joke about it, but it's just annoying. I can't, until, was it last summer? it went down a little bit, but it was always there. And a lot of us call it the apron, don't we?
Yes,
Because
well, as you
especially if
lose
lost
weight, yeah,
as well.
yeah.
I'd rather it was an apron than be a big pot belly, but you know, that is part of menopause. I think that stomach area for sure.
Yes, yeah.
Stomach and hips. Yeah, it's like it says on there. Yeah, the whole around the abdomen area.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So
And because you're that much older, you're also fighting age and deterioration of age.
well,
At that same time, because, you know, as you get to your 50s and 60s, male and female, you will, in general, be less active. You might have joint problems or things like that, unrelated to menopause. So therefore, even if you're just gaining menopausal weight, doing something about it gets more difficult as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it does feel like...
Oh, God, it's depressing.
It does feel like you've got to do twice the effort. That's the thing.
Yes.
To actually try and lose anything. Because I've had this conversation with Duncan before I come out. I said to you, according to the scales, I put on £3 this week and I cannot figure out why. It's almost like, because I have given myself some carbs, whereas I've not been eating carbs. So it's almost like that little bit of carbs I had, which weighed itself a lot less than I put on. Why?
Yeah.
There must be some chemical reaction that just by eating that makes you hang on to it. We're not experts, as I say.
No.
It's just very frustrating. Years ago, I used to just accept the way I was until I had this breathlessness, and I had to then think about losing some, and I've just got to try and keep it off. But as we keep saying, the weather and health just stops us getting our exercise, isn't it? And walking is our easiest exercise, believe it or not.
Yes.
Because
we like out walking, don't
you get
we?
out, get your fresh air, and you see the countryside. And you know, you go on my exercise bike occasionally, but it's a lot better than doing sit-ups and aerobics. And obviously we go to chair fit, which is it's an enjoyable exercise. So sometimes.
Mostly enjoyable.
Depends how hard she pushes us. Another one which I hadn't realised until in the last year was thinning hair.
Yes.
I've always had very fine hair.
Yeah.
But the hairdressers have always said to me it's very fine, but there's a lot of it. So it still used to take a little bit time to blow dry. Whereas our hairdresser recently said to me, your hair's quite thin, there's less of it. And I thought, oh no, visions of going bald or something. But I do notice it hangs lanker now than it used to. And so
most women don't go bald.
No, I think
about that.
You do. I've noticed I can see my scalp more, the pinkness of my scalp more now. So it's obviously a sign that it has thinned, but because it's longer as well, so it lays flatter on my head. Whereas when I used to have it all layered, you don't notice that quite so much.
Apparently it's, surprise, it's about hormone levels, but also a decrease in progesterone and estrogen can also trigger an increase in the production of androgens, a group of male hormones. So it's about that balance being out, isn't it? So that can help, accelerate thinning hair. I've
seen quite elderly ladies that have had bald patches even. It's terrible for some ladies.
Yes, my nan, bless her, she wasn't very tall, so it's very easy to look at the top of her head.
Yeah.
She was in her 90s when she died, late 90s. But she never had it wasn't like a male baldness. But, it was so fine on the top. It was like fluffy baby hair, and there really wasn't much of it. But, I think, again, there's some things supplements you can take to help boost.
Well, strange you said that, because when I lost my hair with chemo, they advise you there's a certain shampoo you can use which would promote hair growth again.
Right.
So why is that not readily available easily for everybody who's got thinning hair?
And again, why do we have to?
It's made me think I could use that occasionally.
Why are we having to look up these things?
Yeah.
Why isn't this information being thrown at us?
No, menopause should come with a manual.
It should.
It should, definitely.
If people are interested in collagen and keratin. It's
That
good
makes
for
sense, yeah.
boosting hair growth in menopause.
All
Yeah.
right. Next one on the list, concentration lapses. We don't know about that, do we?
Oh God.
What was I saying?
Yes. I find it really frustrating.
Yeah, I
Really
do.
frustrating. As I say, it used to worry me because my mum had dementia. But I think it's also as well, not blowing my own trumpet, but I was always quite a clever person. You know,
Well,
so
you do show signs of that.
other times not so much. So when you start to
you do. There's
forget
there's obviously
things.
remnants of it still there.
Yes, somewhere. It's bloody yeah. So that I find that it. What's what I'm trying to say? I find it.
I can
It
imagine
eats
it's
away
like
at my
someone
confidence.
like being a teacher or a professor or someone, and then they start getting ill and losing their memory. It's similar, isn't it? As people get, why can't I think of that anymore?
Yeah, and it can knock.
Losing your memory is hard for anybody.
Yeah, it can knock your confidence, and you think, I
Oh,
used to
yes.
know these things. I used to know these things. I was known for knowing things.
Yeah.
And now I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Can really knock your confidence.
Yeah, I think that's one thing Duncan can get frustrated with me. If he's trying to explain something to me, he'll be like a sentence in and I've glazed over because I cannot take it in. Last night even, he was talking. I was on the computer and something had happened with what I was doing, and he was saying, if you put them there, you can't put it there, and I'm looking at him and like he's talking a foreign language. I just could not get it.
Yes.
And I said, don't, just leave it. Just walk away because it is not going in. And he probably knows another week down the line I'll ask him the same question because it's gone again.
It's gone again. Yeah.
Oh. And I get that. It's very frustrating to me.
It is frustrating.
There's lots of things I want to be, I think we touched on this in the last one, independent on. I want to be able to do it myself. I don't want to have to keep turning to other people, or turning mainly to Duncan to do something for me.
Yes.
He likes to do these things for me, but I want to do it myself.
Yes.
And it's just, and because I can't concentrate on it a lot of the time, I can't do it. Even with sewing, I have to look things up again because I've forgotten since the last time, even though I've practically done it.
Yes. And I think I've talked about learning French later. I think is much more difficult.
Yeah, and I think that puts a lot of people off, actually. That's why they don't do it, because they're older and they feel they can't. But it's good to do it because it does get the memory.
It's supposed to be good for preventing things like Alzheimer's.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of. But I had a thing last week. I tidied all my French folder up. Because every week and I'm looking through it, I'm thinking, yes, I wrote down that word then. A few months later, I've written that word down again because I obviously didn't know I knew it, even though I'd written it down a few. Yeah. I have enough trouble with English words, let alone French ones as well.
Memory and concentration lost together is just a whole.
And I think again, talking about,
we're going back to lists again, aren't we? That's why we have to make so many lists.
I got so many bloody lists.
We know that we're not going to remember it all.
Very frustrating. And again, I think if you're an older woman still in the workforce or still in a job where you have to have some authority or you need to know things.
Yeah, it
even
must be awkward then, mustn't it? Yeah,
and I think maybe it's easier.
Because they're looking at you, you're supposed to be our boss and you can't remember that.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it can be very frustrating.
Yeah.
And may lead to women losing their jobs when they don't need to.
Yeah.
Or walking away from them because they've lost their confidence,
Yeah. Next one, brittle nails. I can't say menopause has caused it, but my nails don't grow very well. I wouldn't say they're not that brittle, but they're not that strong either.
No, I've always had very soft nails.
Same here. So
I actually put hardener on my nails. Sometimes I don't always remember, and that does help. But no, I haven't noticed brittle particularly.
I do know.
But it's probably related again to keratin, isn't it?
Yes. Allergies. Now, I've never been diagnosed with any allergies. So when you go to the hospital or anything, they always say, have you got any allergies? And I'll shrug my shoulders, not that I know of. But there could be, but I think sometimes you live with these things and just decide, well, that upsets my stomach or whatever. But is it an allergy? Or is that just
an intolerance?
Yeah.
Maybe your intolerance is change.
Yeah, well, they do say, again, not even just menopause, just as you get older, you develop more allergies, apparently. How would we know if it was the menopause or just something that would have happened?
Yeah,
without menopause?
I notice it more that I've got a food intolerance that maybe I didn't have before.
Well,
we've
so
both-
I've just now more acidic foods really affect
Yes,
me.
and we've talked
But
about
we didn't
acid
use
reflux
before.
and
Yeah.
things like that.
I do suffer with, I mean, don't laugh. He said, where did this word GERD come from? I said to him, it's a medical thing. You just don't believe me. But
No.
I've just now realised that tomatoes and onions, both of those, aren't that great for me. But I have them because I like them, more the onions than the tomatoes. But yeah, it's and also it's if you cook a tomato, it's not as bad as if it's raw. Things like that. That's probably the same with onions. If they're raw onions, maybe they're not as bad as if they're cooked. Because they're less acidic, they go sweeter, don't they, when they're cooked onions? But
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that there's certain things now that I eat, but I know they affect me
Yeah,
more
you
than
avoid
they used
them. Yeah. I do have acid reflux where I didn't used to have it.
To. Well, yeah, we'll both
Yeah.
take omeprazole, don't we?
Yeah, so that's more of a general stomach intolerance. But no, I still stuff whatever I can in my face. Joint pain,
Oh, yes.
general achiness, specific joint pain that people have more of once they're in the menopause.
And that's down to, well, they say osteoporosis, don't they, with bones?
Well, yes, bone
Yeah,
density
bone
decreases.
density,
Yeah, your density
Because Val
decreases.
says about that at Keep Fit, doesn't she?
She
Because
does.
there's certain exercises she gets us to do to help build up the bone density. So, yeah, because we're
Again,
all old
that's,
ladies at the Keep Fit, aren't
yeah,
we? Sorry,
that's
ladies of a certain age, not old ladies.
plus Michelle. Yeah.
Plus Michelle. Yes, sorry. Michelle is what would be Michael in
Yeah,
English.
so our
but
one man.
he's our 1 6 foot plus man who does the Keep Fit, bless him. Yeah. That is a problem. I do definitely. I get really frustrated when I hear, I think you said it recently, when you hear of people in their 40s saying they're getting old and how everything hurts now. Well, you've got it all to come is all I can say.
Oh dear.
Yeah, we just,
Yes.
and it's the same old thing where you try to sit down without going, ugh, or getting up and going, ugh.
No one can pick the post. I know that's more of an English thing, really, because we have letterboxes. But you can't.
Right, yes.
You can't pick the post up off the floor without groaning. Can you?
No.
Yeah, mummy. Yeah.
I mean, and now if we go on our walks, isn't it, and we're getting back in the car, and it hurts more to get in the car and sit down than it was when it was walking around.
And then we try and get back out of the car when we get home, and that
because
hurts.
You sit in and everything. It's, oh my God, I've been stood up for so long. It's almost like all your back muscles and that have shrunk to make you straight, and then you've got to stretch them again to sit down,
Yeah.
and then again,
Yeah.
leg muscles to get out again. Oh my God.
Another one I had was clumsiness.
Yes.
Right, I'm looking up clumsiness menopause now.
When you're tired, obviously you can get clumsy, but
Well, that's exactly what it's saying, Jan. It says during the menopause, changes in perception of depth of vision can occur.
right.
Concentration can sometimes dip during this time. We're going back to brain fog, and your eyes can become drier. So your general spatial awareness is changing. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's one thing. He must notice it happening to me. Bless him. He's just always very subtle, and he'll just say, "Jan, mind the bag. Don't go near." Because we'll be in a shop with all these ornaments on the shelves, and I've got my bag on my shoulder. As far as I'm concerned, I'm fine. But he's so paranoid that I'm going to turn around and just lose my awareness, and then just knock everything off the shelf and have to pay for it. This podcast might be taking a bit longer than. I'm going to shorten it as much as I can, but it could be another long one. It's hard to actually cover everything we want to talk about sometimes without it going on a bit.
Yes.
But another symptom that was on the list is anxiety.
Yes. I do know of people who, not like me, who've had these problems all their lives, but suddenly in their 50s and 60s
Really?
have anxiety when they've not experienced it before, and it has been put down to menopausal symptoms.
All right. So
Yeah.
I'm another one. I used to suffer with it a lot, so I would just put it down to that. But I didn't know until very recently that it was another menopausal symptom.
Yeah, and there is, when people talk about depression, whether it's clinical depression or a lot of people get situational depression, which is you're depressed because you've been bereaved or because you've lost your job and that sort of thing. So from that point of view, because menopause can change how you feel about yourself, it can be situational depression like that as well. So it's not necessarily hormone related, but just because you feel so different to how you felt before.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I've got underneath there as well is the panic disorder. It's another one.
Yes.
Because they say sometimes you can be a lot more panicky about something, or that feeling of dread as well, isn't it? It's something that I've noticed things like that. And again, it sort of comes all in with anxiety, doesn't it? Because you'll have this sudden fear that something's going to happen or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, you could say that was just being a mum. You could be thinking you're just worried about your children or worried about your partner and that, but it must just cause it to be more prominent, maybe.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we talked about mood swings, which is related to your hormone levels. So from that same point of view, if your hormone levels are dropping, if you've been affected by mood swings before, then you would expect it to have a similar effect.
Well, definitely, yeah.
Once you're in menopause.
Of course, then in the next on the list, it's depression. Again, still comes in under the same umbrella, doesn't it?
Yes.
Of course, another one which we've sort of touched on is fatigue.
Yes.
Most definitely.
Yes.
And often. I don't know about you, but I get tired quicker.
Yes, definitely tired quicker. But again, going back to what we were discussing earlier, is that kind of achy feeling as well, which I think stops you doing things sometimes because but I think whether it's just an age thing or a menopausal thing, I'm still not sure, but we've both been under the weather, is that my recovery period from things is so much longer.
Definitely takes longer to get better again.
And things like that I drove a lot on Wednesday. Again, I used to be able to do those things quite easily, but it takes longer to recover.
I notice if I do a long, it might have been 20 minutes or something to go to chair fit. I don't think necessarily anything of it, but because I suffer with the what's the leg thing?
Restless legs.
Anything where I overexert my legs, that's basically I've been using the muscles, keeps me awake at night. And this, to me, that's a real frustration because I'm doing this stuff. Not only obviously driving the car is just a nice thing to do if you're going somewhere, but the exercise. If you're walking or doing exercise, then I get the achy muscles, which keeps me awake. So you can't win because you're trying to keep fit, but then you're not getting any sleep.
Yeah.
And then that makes the next lot of exercise twice as hard because you've not slept properly. It's like, it's a whole melting pot. If I can, I'll try and rub aloe vera stuff in my legs so that it's supposed to ease the fatigue in the muscles, but
insomnia can be anxiety.
Oh yes, yeah.
Because
it's not
if
just down to body.
No, because if you've not slept well, then you begin to, before you've even gone to bed, get anxious about sleeping.
Yeah.
And worried about not being able to sleep again. Yeah. But of course that makes more.
We both suffer with that, don't we? Because I know I do. If I'm not actually just nodding off, literally, if I'm not struggling to keep my eyes open, then I need to stay up longer until I feel tired.
Yes.
Yet sometimes Duncan will go to bed and I'll think, I'll go up now. I feel a bit tired. Like last night, I got into bed and it didn't take me too long to go off. another night I'll try it and it'll be like an hour plus, and I'm still laying there and I end up going back downstairs again.
Yeah.
Sometimes, then the danger with that is you get distracted because you're watching something, and then you look at the clock and it's 5 o'clock and think, oh, I've got about 3 hours sleep now before my alarm goes off. Oh.
But of course, if you're having hot flushes at night,
if you do get it badly,
or the need to go to the loo, then they're all things that are going to disrupt a night's sleep. Oh, I can remember the days where my head would just hit the pillow and that would be it. I would be out.
I would, because Duncan used to be really jealous of me, because he said she can put her head on the pillow and she's out. Next on the list is insomnia and disrupted sleep, which is what we're saying about. Again, it's a whole melting pot, isn't it? Disrupted sleep is usually my bladder, or say if I've had a drink, then that will wake me up. But I can put up with that almost, because as long as I've gone straight to sleep, at least had a couple of hours or something, I'm okay. Because I hate laying in a dark room, and it's like everything is a million times worse at night as well.
Your mind races, doesn't it?
You're in bed and you just, anything you want to think about is a million times worse. You think it, worrying about your kids. Oh, but what if this happens and what if that happens? If you was in a normal day, you just look at it more practically, and it's funny, isn't it? What nighttime has that effect on you?
Yes, yeah.
Always. The same as people say that you see things in the dark that weren't there before you went to sleep, that sort of thing, isn't it? You're convinced you could see someone standing in the corner of the room or something, it's all that.
I suppose it's less distraction, isn't it? So
yes,
it's only your mind.
Yeah, you're only going to concentrate on what you want to be worried about, even though you don't want to be.
Yeah.
We've gone of memory lapses. Did we touch on that already? I can't remember. Or was that no? It's concentration.
I can't remember if we've done memory lapses.
Yeah, I mean, I've got. If we hadn't already done it, but we're just saying memory lapse is another one on the list, and it's basically short term and often, and we've touched on that already. I know mine is aggravated a little by my pills.
That's because, as we looked up earlier, that pill you take decreases your estrogen levels.
Yeah.
Because that reduces your risk of breast cancer. So.
Which is why I have to go for osteoporosis tests about once a year, just to see whether my bones are, what do they call it?
Less dense,
or wearing away quicker, or holy. That would be.
Are they
that's
holy?
What they do, don't they? I think they do go. Holy,
thing is, what do they do about it if they are?
Well, I assume it's just. I mean, I'm taking vitamin D. I've got those little files of vitamin D. I take that because that's just a precaution. But other than that, I don't know if there's anything more they can do. They must. I'm assuming they can do something. Else, why would they check? Or is it, by the way, your bones are wearing away, you can't do anything about it? They must be able to, mustn't they? But,
okay, you keep going. I'm going to look up osteoporosis. No, not osteoporosis. It's osteoporosis, isn't it? Osteoporosis. You cut all this out and I'll sound so intelligent, won't I, if you cut out all my Googling. Estrogen deficiency, again. 5 symptoms of osteoporosis.
I mean, thinking about it, if it's all down to estrogen deficiency, couldn't they just find a way of giving everybody some estrogen?
Well, that's what HRT is.
Oh, right, okay.
So HRT is giving you back your estrogen.
I sound really stupid, don't I?
No. Who explains these things?
I know.
Yeah. How to improve bone density. Here we go. Oh, it does say about medication there, so hang on. Yes, so hormone replacement therapy is normally either just estrogen or a mixture of estrogen and progesterone.
Oh, right, okay. So that is obviously why they want to give it to you, but some people are reluctant to give it to you because of the other side effects. Yes,
because there are side effects, which is why you're now on something which reduces your estrogen further, because you do have that particular tendency towards breast cancer, don't you?
Yeah.
But I would have thought, if you haven't got, that's what I'm interested in. If you haven't got a history of breast cancer in your family, which I haven't, why do they still say you shouldn't be on HRT for longer than 5 years? There is no cure for osteoporosis. Prescription medicines may slow bone loss. So, yeah, it can be slowed.
So that's about all we can do then,
Yeah. And when they talk about things you can do yourself, it is weight-bearing exercises, some of the things, say Val does. Yeah. Ensure your diet is rich in calcium, milk and dairy products, leafy greens, vitamin D.
See, that's what I need to check with me oncologist this time, because, again, vitamin C is something I know I need to have, but vitamin C also is supposed to have a bad reaction with my pills.
Vitamin C?
Yeah, this is all what I've Googled, mind you, which is why I want to check.
Yes.
You know, that and the raw vegetables and the vitamin C and can't have melatonin to help you sleep, all that stuff.
Oh, I love melatonin.
I know you do, and I'd love to be able to have some, but I'm not going to take it until I've spoken to her.
That's fair enough, yeah.
Next on the list is irritability and impatience.
Shut up, Jan.
To me, they can sort of... No, I'm going to separate them. Irritability...
Sorry, I've just been...
I know. Irritability, yes, most definitely. Especially recently, for some reason, I'm not as... Actually, that's where I would link impatient. I'm not as patient with things and with some people as I used to be. Sometimes I just feel it's easier to avoid something or someone because I'm just going to get annoyed with it.
Yes, yeah.
I could get more short-tempered with Duncan because I'm not, just because, I'm definitely irritable about things, and when it's happening, it's a bit like you don't know why it's happening, and you would get annoyed with yourself, but there's no control over it.
Yeah, again, it's that mood swing thing, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, I think I'm irritating. It's really irritable.
So you don't get irritated, but you do like to irritate.
I like, yes, yeah. People find me irritating. I'm not irritable.
I mean, it's probably the same with me. That's the trouble, isn't it? With our mood swings and everything, we must be irritating to some, mustn't we? So, and impatient, I've never really been that much of a patient person. I've always wanted everything yesterday. So if anything, you book a holiday or you get something planned, although I like to have things planned, sadly it can never come around quick enough, and then your own time's gone fast.
Yeah, I can be an impatient person. Yeah. But
I do get irritable and impatient with people these days. So if I do, Sharon, just give me a slap, okay?
Yeah. You heard that. You heard that, podcast fans. Jan has given me permission to give her a slap.
Bloating. That definitely happens. And whenever you feel bloated, you feel fatter, don't you?
Yes.
Even though you might not be feeling heavier, but yeah, I do get that occasionally, not all the time. When you feel like the side of a house.
I wonder if it's just bloating or more wind.
I was just going to say, is it gas? Yeah. Onions do affect me like that these days, but I don't remember it affecting me like that before.
Yeah, apparently, it just says, because both estrogen and progesterone fluctuate during menopause, water retention levels will also fluctuate, which can lead to an increase in bloating.
Oh.
I mean, some people get a lot of bloating in pregnancy, so that's probably hormone related as well, isn't it?
You say it was to do with the fluid levels?
Yes.
Yeah. Joint pain we've already touched on because
we
you had that on your little list. In fact, next to joint pain, I've got yes. Most definitely. Electric sensations was another one.
Oh right. No, I've not had that at all.
I straight away was saying in my head, no, I haven't. But since, and I've never really known what caused it, but since I can always remember sitting in the car coming over here once. So it's before we lived here, and before perhaps that was perimenopause, and I didn't know. But I get this like little sort of like a shock in my head. Sometimes on top, it's almost like someone's hitting me with a little pickaxe on the top of my head. Touch wood, I haven't had them much for a while, so maybe that's all part of the hormones settled down or something. I don't know. But I wondered that sometimes if that's more of like an electrical thing, because it's that sort of feeling.
Yes.
Like you can imagine if someone put a wire in your head and that sort of sensation.
We did say, didn't we, about estrogen and nerve endings and
Yes.
things like that.
Again,
So
it could be that. Yeah, it's all the similar thing. Talking about allergies and that before, digestion changes. That's probably again linked to that. Because,
intolerance.
Yeah. And muscle aches was the last one, and we've already touched on that as well.
Yes.
Because we just seem to...
Yeah, muscle aches and joint pain.
Groan and ache all the time. So.
And the last thing I was thinking we could just mention was HRT. I mean, going through that kind of awareness of menopause, I'd be interested, people from other countries, as to how proactive their doctors have been around menopause and prescribing HRT. I was on HRT briefly in the UK. I then, when I came to France, they gave me a different medication, which turned out to be only estrogen and not estrogen and progesterone.
That's right, I remember. Yeah,
and I
with you
started
then,
bleeding again, which was very inconvenient. And then they put me back on progesterone, and that stopped.
I think they did that just to test you, really, wasn't it? To see maybe what was
But
gonna
different
happen.
countries have different tolerances, because in the UK they say you shouldn't be on HRT for longer than 10 years. In France they say 5 years.
That's
And I'm
right.
really interested as to the criteria for that, because I think some women dread coming off of HRT because they had such extreme symptoms. But there's this, HRT can increase instances of breast cancer.
That's one thing that's what I remember the doctor saying that to you, because they still think that way, whereas I think in the UK they're not thinking along those lines in the same way anymore, I don't think.
No, but again, having talked about my friend having something that was more individual to her, how common is that? And is that something that we could all be asking for? Because menopause has not been taken... I mean, I do think it's being taken more seriously now than it ever has. But if it was taken more seriously earlier, is that something we could have all been offered? So I'd be interested to hear from people as to, what advice they've been given about going on HRT or not going on HRT, what HRT they've used. A lot of people have the patches, don't they? And I used to have pain patches before I had my knee replaced, and people used to say to me, "Oh, is that HRT?"
Yeah.
So I know that I had tablets to take. My friend has a cream. I think that's the progesterone, is the cream.
That's right, yeah.
So there's obviously all kinds of things on offer, but again, I don't think a doctor that I'm aware of has ever said to a woman, "Oh, I see you are now 58, 62. Are you experiencing menopause? How difficult are your circumstances?
Yeah, how's it going?
Have you considered HRT?" So I'd be really interested to hear people's experiences.
Yeah,
because
there are probably doctors out there that are understandable, and I would say probably more maybe female doctors. I mean, I'm not knocking male doctors, but you kind of think that women are more likely to understand the situation.
Yes.
Because if they're young doctors, then they're preparing themselves probably because they know it's going to hit them at some point, and there may be older doctors that are going through it themselves.
Yes.
So it's quite nice if you've got a female doctor for that reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm surprised because obviously our doctor's female, the one we got now, and she never mentioned menopause to me thinking about it.
Yeah.
Never really sort of said that's what you're going through. But
It's almost as if there's a culture of, well, we'll ignore it unless they mention it.
yeah, it is, isn't it?
And as I say, there are other things that are age triggered. Because we get offered tests at certain ages.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why menopause advice isn't in there. That's my mini campaign for the week.
Get in your soapbox,
Yeah.
Well, I hope that's not bored any men that have been listening, but then also if you're married, maybe it'll make you or help understand maybe what your other half is going through. You never know.
Well, even it,
Or if they're not in it yet, you know what's to come. Don't pack your bags yet.
and there will be men out there with female bosses and thinking,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, why has Tracy suddenly stopped remembering things? I always, you know, and it could be that. I have got some good news though. Having looked at some of these things, once you are through the menopause, some of these things do begin to return to normal, pre-normal, and that includes the memory loss. So it could be that we could come out the other end of the brain fog.
Right, let's hope so. I mean, one thing I didn't mention at the start was that I think it was something you shared earlier. This woman was saying that the period from start to finish that you go through your menopause was at sort of between 4 and 8 years. Now, I've never heard it be that low. It was always heard that it was 10 years. Now, I'm thinking if it's 10 years, then I've still got another 2 years to go. But then again, everybody's probably different. And mine might finish later, like I said, because my period started earlier.
Yes.
Thanks very much.
Yes.
But yeah, other than that, yeah. So that was menopause week. And also, I just want to thank everybody that's been commenting again. I can't look at the comments this week on my phone because my microphone is plugged into my phone, and I don't want to upset it.
Do you want me to do it? I can look it up, can't I?
Okay, go on then.
Bear with me. What, you're looking at the last podcast?
Yeah, it's not the one last week.
Okay.
But yeah, I want to thank everybody that's been commenting, and thank you to
We love the comments, don't we?
that's been listening, and you know, we're aware that not everybody can listen to the whole thing, but as a lot of those that do listen very often pause and come back to it. So
I think this was when we were asking questions of each other, wasn't it? About things we wanted to have done and not done and things like that.
Yes.
And this was Liz Stevenson.
Right,
Should I just say Liz?
Yes.
This is Liz.
Yes.
Who was talking about listening to us while she was having her chicken salad.
Oh, that's right.
And she said, I too learned recorder at school, but also had private piano lessons.
Yes, I said to Liz that she was very lucky that she had these piano lessons, and she mentioned something that was totally alien to me to do with music. She used to order her music, wasn't it, for the piano?
Sheet music. She used to order sheet music from from a music shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just another world to me.
Classical music.
I say, again, it's something I always wanted to learn piano, whether it would be an upright or it be a grand. I have no idea. Even an organ, to play an organ would be quite nice.
Someone else was saying how their sister was so in love with Donny Osmond.
Yes, we were talking about
pop stars
pop
and
idols,
things.
pop stars that we loved, yeah. Most people I speak to loved Johnny. He really had a following, didn't he? I think some of them still do now. They still go and see him now because he's obviously still on the circuit, as it were.
Yes, I did have to apologise to Tina as well, didn't I?
Well, yes, a couple of people did say what you... Yeah.
Tina said, I decided to listen to the podcast while eating my fish and chips. Sharon had mentioned a period snot and sick in a short space of time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I do these things, don't I?
Because Sharon's not a squeamish sort of person, so she doesn't necessarily think of that. But
no.
Yeah.
And they do all come out at various stages. Yes, I haven't even looked at our comments from today yet.
No,
I think we've already got
today's
some.
one has already gone up. I've only seen one or two, and today
Let's have a look.
In today's, even because obviously we're recording the next week's, but today's is about being, like I say, I might have already mentioned.
We have got four comments already.
Pros and cons to being single or being together. So as usual, we try to be as frank and as honest as we can without divulging too much.
Bearing in mind, we have spent ages talking about vaginal discharge and dryness.
Yeah. Okay, so we will see you all next week, and I'm not sure what the subject is next week, but
I'm not sure.
Keep your eyes peeled, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.